Okay, so what I'm fixing to do is I'm gonna show you my way of building a brush blind. Um, I've got deer filtering through here pretty regularly, uh, but there's really no trees that are right for a stand. And why spend the money on a $100, $150, $200, however much you can spend as much as you want to spend on a ground blind. Um, but I'm going to show you a way to have a hunting blind to where you can come in, set, be undetected, uh, without having to spend the money, and actually still be really comfortable and be able to move around a lot. Um, so here we go. Okay, so the first thing that you got to do whenever you're building a brush blind, whenever you're putting up a blind in general, is you got to figure out where you can hunt with what winds. Okay, and so most of the time out here, I'm going to set this place up. I'm going to set this ground blind up to where I can hunt it with a south wind, because that's most usually, I mean, we're in central Oklahoma. Usually the cold weather don't start coming in until late November. Actually, last year there was some days in the 80s throughout November. So it was still hot. There was still regular south wind blowing, and so I'm gonna set this specific blind up to where I can hunt this area, this crossing. We've got. I'm gonna hunt this crossing with a south wind. Okay, and so now with a south wind, I want to be on the opposite side of the trails, of course. And so I've got 3 trails intersecting right here. Actually, as I look, there's actually 4 good trails intersecting right here, and some of them are cattle trails, and some of them are mainly used by deer. And so what I've got is dropping down behind me on this hill. There's a big, I guess it's a dammed up pond, and so I'm gonna set where this pond is at my back, so I can see down in there. That way, if anything comes in to drink, but also I can see a good ways that way. I can see about 150 yards that way. Back behind me, there's a big open field back there, and I know that the deer cross that field early in the morning, and they come through and cross that field and bed down on the other side of the hilltop in the evening time. I've actually seen them do that. And so what we're going to do is I'm looking at these trails, trying to figure out the best possible case scenario for if these deer come through. I've got game camera pictures of them coming from the other side of this pond dam and kind of coming up over this dam, and then I've got pictures of them just straight up crossing right here. I've got an attractant out there that they're going to come to, and it's just giving them a good reason to stop. I know that the deer come through here regularly without any help, but I just want something there, whether it be a salt block, mineral block, corn, anything there to help them deer to stop whenever they come through, and give me time to get a decent shot at them. I hunt with my son a lot. He's 5 years old. I'll be hunting with my wife a lot here in rifle season. This is my first year self-filming, and so I just want to have plenty of time and plenty of opportunities to take a shot at one of these deer. And so first I figure out what wind I can hunt with where I'm hunting. I recognize their game trails. I have my attractant just to get them to stop. And so now I want my blind to be as natural as possible. If you want to come in and hunt immediately after you put something up and not spook deer off, then you want to put up a blind that's as natural as possible. And so what I've got here is there's an old dead tree that has fallen over and laid over this pond in. Okay, and so that's what I'm going to use as the basis of my ground blind, my brush blind. And so first what I'm going to do is before I go to moving tree limbs and doing all this stuff, I want to step inside, and this is going to be the basics. This is going to be where the main portion of my where my blind is based out of. And so what I need to do is I need to go in here and figure out where to make my shooting lanes. And I need plenty of room to draw back. As you can see right now, I don't have any room at all in here. So what I'm going to do is just take these dead limbs, break them off, and I'm not just going to throw them away. I'm going to use everything that I break off as a leaner to lean on top of this stuff here. And I've actually got a small limb growing up here that I'm going to break some of that off. And what you're doing is you're giving yourself plenty of room to draw your bow, to move around. You don't want to clear too much brush out. I've made that mistake before and cleared too much out, and you don't want to do that. You want to leave plenty of brush here to keep you concealed, and at the same time be able to have plenty of shooting lanes. You don't want to have to be elbowing tree limbs as you're drawing your bow back, and so you want to give yourself plenty of room while not taking too much of the natural concealment away. Them deer are used to seeing this. They're used to seeing this tree limb laying down right here, and so if we don't change too much, if we just brush in a little bit here and brush in a little bit there and just give ourselves a little bit of concealment, then it'll be more natural to them. Whereas even if you did have the money to buy a ground blind, if you come in here and put a ground blind in, big old, 5x5 pop-up blind or whatever it may be, even if you can't afford something like that, if you change everything that drastically, them deer are going to notice it immediately. They're going to notice it, I mean, right off the bat. And so this is actually a really good way to keep that from happening, to keep from running your deer out for a large amount of time, or for a long time. So I'm just going to move some stuff around here. Try not to heavy mouth breathe while I'm recording. So just bear with me, and this is what I'm doing right here. This is building a brush blind. One thing that you for sure want to do anytime that you're going to sit on the ground, whether you're sitting flat on the ground or if you're going to bring in a chair, is you've got to clear out the leaves from under you, because every time you move your foot, everything around you is going to know that you're there. Okay, so there's our brush blind. I would say that it's framed up. It's not covered just yet. There's the side view of it. But we've got a lot big stuff right here sitting there, kind of concealing it all from that side. We've got all that right there stacked up. We got that. This is the side view from here. That's the back view. And this is the entry. We come up and around. We're using kind of this big tree right here as a blocking point for this entryway. We've got concealment behind us. We've got pretty tight concealment ahead of us, in front of us. And now what I'm going to do is we're going to ease over the top of this ridge right here. And this is a big ravine type deal right here. Huh. That's interesting. Alright, so what we're going to do is we're going to come over here and find us. That's perfect. You see that right there? Try to get some of this vine. Pull a bunch of this down out of the tree. Let's see if I can set this down for just a second while I work with this. Natural cover. We got natural cover all the way around, except for just that one side right there. And should be nice and comfortable. The ground's pretty flat in here. Further over in here where we have just a little bit more coverage. Okay. All right. So I would say that this ought to do pretty good for sitting in a lawn chair. That's probably what I'll do, because I've got a lawn chair that I will more than likely bring in here and just set up right here in the middle of it. And if my boy wants to come hunt with me, he can. There's plenty of room. We're not confined. And I think it's going to be a really nice setup. As you can see, just right over there is where our attractant is. It's not much, but like I said before, it's just enough to get the deer to stop whenever they come through this area. And like I said, this is not in any way a north wind spot, but anyway, it'll be a good spot nonetheless for south wind.